Hare Krishna devotees. So thank you very much for coming for this inaugural festival of Srila Narrotam Das Thakur in ISKCON Columbus. As I was meditating and preparing for this talk and reading this book, I must give credit to Srila Dasi, who's the wife of Hare Prabhu, who composed this book, The Glorious Life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. There is also a book called Premvilas. There is a book called Narottam Vilas, and there is a book called Bhakti Ratnakara. In these three books, the pastimes of Srila Narottam Das Thakur are described. In addition, on internet, just typing Narottam Das Thakur brings a wealth of information. Satyaraj Prabhu, Stephen Roseanne, did a book on Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit and Srinivas Acharya. That is an additional source. And then there's a lot of information from the talks given by our esteemed acharyas and gurus. But this book is a very comprehensive book. Srila Dasi, it's available on Amazon for $10. As I was reading this book, as I was preparing my talk, I was thinking this is exactly what it means by a dwarf trying to reach the moon or touch the moon. Narottam Das Thakur holds a very special place in Gaudiya Vaishnava history. In fact, after Lord Chaitanya left this world, the entire mantle of leadership of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, its formulation, systematic propagation, and to give Gaudiya Vaishnavism a form, a nucleus, was done by these three personalities, Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit, and Srinivas Acharya. Specifically in terms of the books which were written, the philosophy which was written by the Goswamis of Vrindavan. You have Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself did not wrote anything. My understanding is that he wrote the 8 verses of Shikshastakam. Whether he wrote them or he spoke them, it's not clear to me. But it definitely was composed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He also spoke the 11 verses of Upadeshamrita to Rupa Goswami. So those two canonical texts, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But he instructed the Goswamis, specifically Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, to write these books. And what was the instruction? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Rupa and Sanatan Goswami some following basic tenets. He said, first you have to establish from the Vedas. It is not that he told Rupa and Sanatan to write something else. But from the Vedic literature, he told Rupa and Sanatan Goswami to research the Vedas and establish the supremacy of bhakti. Supremacy of bhakti over karma, jnana and yoga, which in itself was a humongous task. Second, to establish Rasaraj Krishna as the worshipable deity of this world, as the supreme transcendental moiety, to the exclusion of demigod worship and Mayavad, impersonal, this idea of impersonalism, that there are 5 deities, Vishnu, Surya, Ganesh, Durga and Shiva. And you can worship anyone, and by worshipping anyone, you ultimately will attain this Brahman consciousness, Brahman realization, where you are the Supreme. And at that point, the worship of whichever deity you have chosen can be conveniently disregarded. This is basically Mayavad, Panchopasana. And this is what India had become when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come. Even those who were practicing bhakti did not know what pure devotional service is, what Shuddha bhakti is. Ramanuja and Madhava, they preached pure Vaishnavism. Madhvacharya had a no compromise position with regards to doctrine. But still, things slide down very, very quickly. Krishna says, to establish the principles I come in every yuga, but it doesn't take a yuga for delusion, distortion and deviation to happen. 1 or 2 generations is enough to completely finish the tenets of a particular theology. If there is nobody practicing it, if there is nobody living it, and if there is nobody propagating it actively, it takes maybe 25 to 50 years for everything to go to hell, basically. Now that also puts a very grave responsibility on our shoulders. On every shoulder, there is a huge responsibility for transmission to whatever degree one can. And sometimes transmission just requires somebody practicing it very seriously. That one person practicing something very seriously without deviation can rally an entire generation with himself and take it forward. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Rupa and Sanatan Goswami that their job is to establish the supremacy of bhakti, to establish Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to defeat Mayavad. And he gave them other instructions to discover the holy places of Vrindavan, to establish sacred temples. There is a metaphysical aspect, and there is a tangible aspect. The metaphysical aspect can be understood by qualified scholars. You have to have a little Brahmanical mindset to understand it. But even if somebody has not read a book and they come and look at the beautiful, gorgeous deity worship, they come to beautiful temples, they go to New Vrindavan, or they come to a festival of Janmashtami where kirtan is being sung and prasadam is being distributed. Everybody can relate to that. They can connect with that. So there is a metaphysical aspect of religion and there is a tangible physical aspect, and both of them are important. A scholar's pen is important. The exuberance and enthusiasm of a neophyte devotee is important. And somebody just putting up lights on the street to hold a big festival, that is also very important. So Mahaprabhu told Rupa and Sanatan Goswami to comprise literature which will do that. In fact, that was his instruction to all the Goswamis. So Jiva Goswami's Sat Sandarbha, Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction, Sanatan Goswami's Hari Bhakti Vilas, Brihad Bhagavatamrita. These texts basically from the canon, from the Vedic canon in which we are operating. We are not operating on a different platform. We are operating within the canon, but from the canon you highlight what is the essence, what is the real meaning. However, Goswamis are mendicants living in Vrindavan. And they had comprised the books. Bhugarbh Goswami wrote books. Other devotees, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami had established Chaitanya Charitamrita, the entire life of Chaitanya. Rupa Goswami wrote prolifically. Jiva Goswami wrote prolifically. Sanatan Goswami wrote prolifically. But these prolific writings are in palm leaves, manuscripts, bundled up in Vrindavan. Jiva Goswami teaches all of these things to these three personalities. One by one, Srinivas Acharya, Gopala Bhatt Goswami, Shyamananda Pandit, and Narrotam Das Thakur, they came to Jiva Goswami. Rup and Sanatan have left. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has left. And we are talking, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was here from 1486 to 1534. Narottam Das Thakur took birth in 1550, 16 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has left this world. And he grows up, and by the time he's about 17 or 18, he's in Vrindavan. And they're studying in the school of Jiva Goswami. And Jiva Goswami, singularly, he wrote 400,000 verses. 400,000 verses. Mahabharata is 100,000 verses. Bhagavatam is 18,000 verses. Jiva Goswami wrote 400,000 verses. Many of the literature which dealt with rasa tattva, specifically Radha and Krishna's pastimes, as Sanatan Goswami is leaving this world, the Goswamis themselves gave their own writings Grantha Samadhi. They buried them in the earth. They said this is not meant for Kali Yuga people. And that Grantha Samadhi of Sanatan Goswami is right next to his Samadhi in Madan Mohan temple today in Vrindavan, where he buried most of his writings which dealt with rasa. They're not this Kali, it's not for this Kali Yuga. Rupa Goswami's Lalita Madhava, Vidakta Madhava, the fact that these books stayed, that today we can acquire a copy of Ujjwal Nilamani, is in itself a miracle. So now Jiva Goswami is teaching these three devotees, Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit, and Srinivas Acharya. And he's saying that now you have, at one point he tells them, after their education is complete, that you have to take these books. You have to take these books to Bengal. Most of the disciples and associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are in Bengal, but these books have been written in Vrindavan. You put these books on an ox cart. Now we'll send you some guards, but it is your duty to take these books to Bengal and to Orissa. Make copies. At that time, there's no Xeroxing, so you have to make handwritten copies. Handwrite these copies. Preach this philosophy. Imagine the task they have taken. The magnitude of the task. There is no books really. So you take these, you put them nicely in books form, you copy them, you preach philosophy from them, and you disseminate this knowledge throughout Bengal and Orissa. Two huge big states. And then bring these books back to Vrindavan. When you have made plenty of copies of these, then bring these books back to Vrindavan. And then the other devotees will preach in Vrindavan. Narottam Das Thakur specifically, he composed himself songs. He was gifted musically. He was extremely scholarly. And his songs are considered as the fifth Veda. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he said, Narottam Das Thakur's songs are as good as Vedic mantras. Chanting these bhajans we do, whether it's Guru Puja or Goranga Bolite Habe or Shri Rupa Manjari Pada, all of these songs, they are incarnation of Vedas. They are Vedic mantras per se. No difference at all. Prabhupada said that Narottam Das Thakur's songs are such that if one has a heart of a rock, a rock, stone. These songs, when they are sung, they can pierce the rock like a thunderbolt. And they can bring love of God. It can produce Krishna prema in the heart of a stone. Narrotam Das Thakur, there is this one incident before Narrotam Das Thakur took birth. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is doing his kirtan along with his associates. And they reach the bank of a river called Padmavati. It's a distributary of Ganga. Padma river it's called. Everybody is in bliss. Mahaprabhu has his arms raised. They're experiencing the ecstasy of kirtan. And suddenly, when trees clear up and they see the beautiful vision of Padmavati river, Mahaprabhu raises his arms up and ecstatically starts shouting, Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. And tears are cascading in his eyes. And his entire body is erupting with goose pimples. And he's chanting Narottam, Narottam. And he faints on the lap of Shri Nityananda Prabhu. Devotees, this was not an unusual occurrence. Devotees knew what to do. Devotees softly started chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in his ears, but Mahaprabhu is unconscious. Vakreshwar Pandit started chanting the Kirtan of Lord Jagannath, beautiful names of Jagannath, Jagannath Ashtakam. And Mahaprabhu slowly comes to consciousness. Devotees ask Mahaprabhu, who is this Narottam you are talking about? And Mahaprabhu said, come with me. And he took all the devotees to the bank of Padma river. And he walked into the Padmavati river. And as Mahaprabhu walked towards the middle of the river started swirling. And whirlpools started forming in the river. And the river became agitated. Then a beautiful woman comes out of the river. She's wearing white silken clothes and her entire body is shimmering. And the sun rays are falling on this woman. And she comes and she prays to Mahaprabhu and she says, my Lord, why did you call me? And Mahaprabhu said, I have this love in my heart. This love of God which is manifested as this kirtan of the holy name. When me and Nityananda Prabhu leaves this world, how will this love be propagated? Who will be the recipient of this love? Who will be the varis? Who will be the inheritor of this love? I want to drown the entire world through the kirtan of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This special love I have in my heart, I'm going to give it to you, for you to hold it. And one day, a beautiful golden complexion boy called Narottam would come and enter your waters. When Narottam enter your waters, you please give my love to him. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking to Padmavati. All the devotees are stunned. They have never witnessed such an exchange. Mahaprabhu picks up a lotus flower and give it to Padmavati. He says, this is my love. Give it to Narottam when he enters your water. Padmavati asks, my Lord, but how will I know that Narottam has entered my water? Mahaprabhu said, the same ecstatic current, the same overflooding you just witnessed, when Narottam will enter your waters, you will witness the same ecstasy of love of God. You will swirl in ecstasy, whirlpools will form, and you will overflood your banks. Padmavati asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. She said, if his mere entering in my waters will cause me to have such great ecstasy, if that devotee will be so ecstatic to enter my waters, how will he sustain your love of God? If entering me he's so ecstatic that I will attain bhava, then how will he sustain your prema? Is it possible for a jiva to sustain your prema? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, he will not be any ordinary living entity. He will be incarnation of my love and my mercy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Radha Krishna nahi anya. He is combined incarnation of Radharani and Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Narrotam Das Thakur, or that Narottam who will enter your waters, he will be a manifestation of my mercy on this planet. And he will be the inheritor of this love which myself and Nityananda Prabhu are carrying in our heart. And he will give this love and this mercy. He will compose beautiful poetry and he will inaugurate a new style of kirtan. He will combine the Bengali kirtan with the love of Vrindavan. He will combine the Bengali kirtan with love of Vrindavan, and he will spread kirtan throughout this universe. He will compose songs which will be sung by millions of people all over the world. He will compose poetry which will defeat Vedic mantras. He will preach far and wide. And you will know that when he comes, you will be in ecstasy. And please give this love of God as it is to Narottam. Padmavati humbly accepts that love. And she melts into her shimmering waters. Mahaprabhu come out of the river. And devotees are stunned, wide-eyed. Mahaprabhu calmly said, begin kirtan. No need to say a word. Often in life, there's no need to say many things. It's just meant to be felt. Most of the things in life are just meant to be felt. Kirtan is meant to be felt. Bhagavatam is meant to be felt. Deities are meant to be felt. Festivals are meant to be felt. Prasadam is meant to be felt. Words cannot describe anything. So Mahaprabhu simply said, begin kirtan. But the word went out. The word went out. Everybody is talking about Narottam. When is he going to appear? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left this word. Nityananda Prabhu left this word. Mahaprabhu left this word in 1534. At this point, the entire Bengal is in mourning. Entire Orissa is in mourning. Mahaprabhu is participating in Rath Yatra in Jagannath Puri. 4 months of the year, all of the Vaishnavas from Bengal are coming to Odisha. 4 months of the year. Mahaprabhu would do 6 hours of Harinam Sankirtan every day. That was his part of his daily routine. 6 hours of Nagar Sankirtan every day. Rest of the time, the devotees were absorbed with Mahaprabhu in Kirtan, Aratiks, Prasadam, festivals. Bengal is in mourning, Orissa is in mourning. Vrindavan, because of its proximity to Delhi, was always a hit or miss place. the Muslims who would rule. That was a period in Indian political history. Sikandar Lodi and Abraham Lodi, they were basically ISIS multiplied by 100. ISIS multiplied by 100. And Vrindavan, because of its proximity, was always attacked. As Mahaprabhu is leaving, Rupa and Sanatan are establishing temples in Vrindavan. There was a period of time for about 50 years when Akbar was the king. He was tolerant. He was tolerant. His successors were not so. His predecessors were not so. When Goswamis are building these beautiful temples, Akbar is in Delhi. So in Delhi, Goswamis are building temples. They're writing their books. Bengal is in mourning. Odisha is in mourning. In Vrindavan, Lokanath Goswami and Bhugarbha Goswami. Lokanath Goswami is a very central feature to the story. Lokanath Goswami was born in Nadia, associate of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one day, he went with Mahaprabhu to Odisha. One day, Mahaprabhu told Lokanath Goswami and Bhugarbha Goswami to go to Vrindavan. He says, I am giving you two this task. The first Gaudiya Vaishnav devotees, Acharyas, who Mahaprabhu sent to Vrindavan to recover all of the holy places and the broken temples. Vrindavan was basically a hunting ground for Mughals. In 13th century, Babur came to power. Mahaprabhu appeared in the end of 15th century. So in 300 years, all of the temples have been broken, the deities have been relocated and stolen. Vrindavan is basically a jungle, an overgrown wild jungle. The blood of the Vaishnavas had washed the gullies of Vrindavan. Bhugarbha Goswami and Lokanath Goswami were the first devotees who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu commissioned to go to Vrindavan. And they, traveling around Vrindavan, the entire Braj, 84 miles, 84 kos they call. One kos is a little bit more than a mile. So it's a huge area, tract of land. And fortunately, the political conditions are stable. And these Goswamis are going around Vrindavan, recovering the lost places, rallying the local people who had lost faith. They have been under attack for 300 years. For 4 years, you cannot tolerate a politician, right? We're talking 300 years of subjugation. So Lokanath Goswami was heartbroken when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told him to go to Vrindavan. He said, how can I leave you? How can I leave your association? But Mahaprabhu says that this is my service to you. This is a service I'm giving to you. So Lokanath Goswami and Bhugarbha Goswami, these both Goswamis were inseparable, dearmost associates of Lord Chaitanya. They're going around Vrindavan, doing their bhajan. 24 hours they're absorbed in bhajan, absorbed in kirtan, rallying the local Brajvasis, recovering the lost deities, and establishing the holy places. In this milieu, in 1550, Bhugarbha Goswami and Lokanath are in Vrindavan, recovering the holy places. Bengal and Orissa is in mourning. Mahaprabhu has left, Nityananda Prabhu has left. Narrotam Das Thakur makes his divine appearance in a town in Bengal called Kheturi. 1550. His father, Krishna Nanda Dutt, and his mother Narayani, they were by caste Kayasthas. They were tax collectors on behalf of the Muslim king. Now this entire pastimes, Bengal itself is ruled by a king called Nawab Hussain Shah, this time period. And the Bengal itself is under Muslim rule. Narrotam Das Thakur makes his appearance. His mother and father are king and queen of the local area. They are zamindars, they are king, they are tax collectors, they are rich people. They work on behalf of the Muslim king. They collect taxes and they pay taxes to the Muslim king. Anybody who worked for the Muslim king, his condition was, no matter who he was, the local Hindu Brahminical community treated them as Shudras, as outcast, if you basically worked for the Muslim king. And they were Kayasthas, they were Shudras. But they were rich and they had the influence in the local area. Brahmanas pretty much kind of dealt with the religion. Their idea was to have a monopoly on the religion, and they didn't really care about the political side of things so much. As long as their business was maintained, people came to them for samskaras, people came to them for pujas, people came to them for weddings, and they got their livelihood met. They didn't really care much about the whole other part of the equation. So Krishnananda Dutt and Narayani, it is described in the scriptures, they don't have a son. They're praying to their Shalagram Shila, they worship as Vishnu. And their prayers are answered once a beautiful boy, Narottam, takes birth. His beauty, his physical features are described, his horoscope is described. The astrologer said that he will be a great king or he will be a great mendicant. He will be a great renunciant or a great king. In a way, it is prophetic. One who can give up this word is a Maharaj. We say sannyasis Maharaj, right? So and so. Maharaja means a king. Maharaja means a great king. In Kali Yuga, the senses are the king. The mind is the king. One who can control his mind and senses is called a Raja, a king. So this forecast was prophetic. He will either be a great ascetic or he will be a great king. In fact, he would turn out to be both. So Maharaja. Narrotam Das Thakur, when time came for his first grain ceremony, they put a pot of sweet rice and they're trying to feed him. This little boy, he turns his head away. He would not allow them to open his mouth and put sweet rice in his mouth. They were all besides themselves. Krishnananda Dutt and Narayani. What happened to our Naro? They would call him Naru. N-A-R-U. Naru. What happened to Naru? Why he would not eat? And one Brahmana said, well, I think we should offer this sweet rice to Krishna. And then let's see what happens. So make this offering to Krishna, and Narottam happily ate it. And Krishnananda Dutt observed, we have become relaxed. We have become complacent in following the principles of dharma. But this boy is meant to teach us something. Because of him, we will strictly offer everything in our palace to the deity of Krishna first, before anybody takes anything. So that was one of the pastimes they talked about. And the astrologer also told Krishnananda Dutt, there is a great danger for this boy from rivers. So you keep him away from the rivers. So as Narottam is growing, he wants to go to the river to play. And Krishnananda Dutt, he dug up a local lake within the palace confines. And he told the guards, he told all his servants that Narottam is not to go close to a river. Krishnananda Dutt and Narayani, both pious people. The astrologer told him, you keep this boy away from river. And Krishnananda Datta and Narayani, they take utmost care of the boy. They were very pious people. And when devotees from Bengal would go to Odisha for the Rath Yatra festival every year, they would host all the pilgrims in their palace. They would host all the Vaishnavas. It is described as Narottam is growing. He's very attracted to holy people. He's attracted to sadhus. He's very attracted to listening from them. Krishnananda Dutt and Narayani, they would host the pilgrims. In the evening, in the palace courtyard, there would be Bhagavat Katha. One time, Narottam was a small boy, about 7 or 8 years old. There is this devotee, his name is Krishna Das. He's an associate of Lord Chaitanya. And he came and he was speaking about Lord Chaitanya. And Narottam is a young boy, 8 or 9 years old. He's sitting in the assembly listening. And he's transfixed by the description of this golden avatar. about the pastimes of Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Haridas Thakur, Vasu Ghosh, Mukunda Datta. All of these personalities, Krishnadas, Babaji, he would narrate these pastimes one after another. And this continued for a whole month. After that, Narottam lost all interest in life per se. At night, he would dream about Lord Chaitanya. He would dream about Lord Chaitanya's associates. Every time he would find anybody who was coming from Bengal, he would run up to them and ask them about Lord Chaitanya. Can you tell me something about Lord Chaitanya? Can you narrate any pastimes of Lord Chaitanya? And one day Krishnadas told Narottam that Lord Chaitanya has left this world. And Narottam was like, what do you mean he has left this world? I'm waiting to just grow up so I can run away to Nadia or Jagannath Puri and I can just associate with Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. And Krishnadas told him that I'm sorry, they have left. Narottam is in deep separation. And at that night, it is described, Lord Nityananda came in Narottam's dream. And he told Narottam his beautiful form. He came and he described to Narottam, Narottam, you should go to Padmavati river. There, your heart's innermost desires will be fulfilled. Love of God is waiting for you to descend upon you. Go immediately to Padmavati river. Narottam got up in the morning. He sneaked away from his home. He's about 12 years at this time, 12 years old. Sneaked away and went to Padmavati river and entered Padmavati river. The river current started swirling and there were whirlpools and the river started flooding. Narottam found himself deeply immersed in the river. And then Padmavati comes out and gives Narottam the love which she was holding for him. As Padmavati came and gave the love of God to Narottam, his bodily complexion changed. He was darkish in complexion, but he became golden complexion. Lord Chaitanya appeared there and he embraced Narottam. And Narottam fainted. It is described that after that exchange, Narottam could not maintain external consciousness. He would talk as if a ghost had taken over him. Meanwhile, his parents and his relatives and the servants and the guards came running to the river. Where is Narottam? And they see Narottam uncontrollably shivering and shaking on the bank of Ganga. They see tears flowing through his eyes. He's mumbling things which are incomprehensible. Krishnananda Datta thought that the astrologer's prediction has come true. When Narottam came to his senses, Narottam explained to them that I am not mad. No ghost has overtaken me. But these are symptoms of love of God. I have seen Lord Chaitanya. And now I just want to leave home and I want to go and be in Vrindavan. Lord Chaitanya told Narottam to go to Vrindavan. After that, the life of Narottam was not the same. It is described that how his mother and father bound him up. They had guards to take care of him. But Narottam's heart was not there. One day, a Muslim king, when he heard about Narottam's ecstatic transformation, the change in his bodily complexion, and his unusual behavior, the townspeople understood that Narottam is a prophet. He's not an ordinary person. The local Muslim king called for Narottam. Krishnananda Datta had to send him with the guards. Narottam, in the middle of his way, he told the guards that its time has come for me to go to Vrindavan. And the guards said, but Narottam Thakur, we cannot let you go so easily. And Narottam said with great conviction, he said, a chaste wife, when her husband passes away, she enters the funeral pyre without any hesitation. The guards were stunned. They said, but we cannot. We have strict orders to take you to the Nawab and to bring you back. And Narottam said, you can do whatever you want, but I have made up my mind to ascend the funeral pyre. My life is over. You can do whatever you want. And the guards, they were so stunned by Narottam's determination, his dedication, his surety of purpose, his absolute confidence, that they said, we cannot hold you back. You are a saint. You go where your heart desires. And it is described that Narottam rushed to Vrindavan. His travels are described, how hungry and thirsty Lord Chaitanya himself came and brought him a pot of milk one time to give it to him. He reached Mathura. He sees the outline of the city. He meets the local Brahmanas. And he told them, I'm here to see Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. He had heard about them from Krishna Das Babaji, who had narrated all of the beautiful pastimes of Lord Chaitanya's associates. The Brahmana said, Rupa and Sanatan Goswami just left this world. Bhugarbh Goswami left this world. Kashishwar Pandit left this world. And Narottam is like, all of this for nothing. I came here to take shelter of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, and they've left this world. The Brahmana knew that Narottam will commit suicide. Brahmana continued to be with him all night and all day, give him hope. The Brahmana told him, Lokanath Goswami is there, Jiva Goswami is there, Srinivasacharya is there, Gopala Bhatta Goswami is there. Please go, they're all waiting for you. I have heard your name. We knew that somebody called Narottam will come one day. We have been waiting for you with a bated breath. So please go to Vrindavan. Narottam gathered the strength. He go to Vrindavan. He comes in front of Radha Govinda Mandir. He asked the local Brahmana, what temple is this? And they said, this is the Radha Govinda Mandir of Srila Rupa Goswami. And Narottam fainted. When Narottam came to senses, somebody picked him up. Narottam said, where am I and who are you? And the person who picked Narottam up said, you are in Vrindavan and my name is Jiva Goswami. And Narottam said, he stammered and he said, Jiva Goswami? So Narottam's heart's desire was fulfilled. It is described that he was about 13 or 14 years old when he came to Vrindavan. And Jiva Goswami took Narottam to meet all of the devotees of Vrindavan. All of the devotees of Vrindavan, all of the Goswamis. He introduced him to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. He introduced him to all of the disciples, all of the devotees. Regulative Das Goswami was still living. Raghunath Bhatt Goswami had left this world. So Narottam, in the company of Srila Jiva Goswami, he met all of the Goswamis. And then Jiva Goswami introduced him to Lokanath Goswami. And Narottam was instantly attracted to Lokanath Goswami. He was a renounced Babaji who will never take any service from anybody. He would simply chant Harinam all day, crying tears, and he would do parikrama of Braj. Narottam, when he met Srila Lokanath Goswami, he told Lokanath Goswami, I want to take initiation from you. Lokanath Goswami replied, you have the love of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in your heart. We have been waiting. We have postponed our death so that we can see you, Narottam. You have that same golden complexion, the same beautiful features. You have the same ecstatic bhava and love for Krishna, which we don't have. How can I initiate you? What will I give you if you have love of Lord Chaitanya in your heart? Narrotam Das Thakur replied to Lokanath Goswami, yes, it is true. But did Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu not accepted a spiritual master? Did Nityananda Prabhu not accepted a spiritual master? Did you not accepted a spiritual master? Did Krishna, when he came to this world, not accept a spiritual master? I know that without serving a pure Vaishnava and without getting his blessings, one cannot attain Krishna. So unless you give me your blessings and you accept me as your disciple and you give me an opportunity to serve you, my life will remain incomplete. So Lokanath Goswami said, well, Baba, you have just come to Vrindavan. At least 1 year you have to chant Harinam here, and then we will discuss the matter. So he let it go. Lokanath Goswami had no disciples. He never accepted any disciples. His reasoning was that as soon as you accept disciples, fame follows. People talk about you, you are a guru, you are an acharya, fame follows. So it's a big thing to accept a disciple. So Lokanath Goswami left him alone. Narrotam Das Thakur joined the school of Srila Jiva Goswami. One day, Narrotam Das Thakur was sleeping, and a beautiful girl came in his dream. And that beautiful girl said, Narottam, wake up. In the afternoon, we make sweets for Krishna. We boil the milk, and then from milk, we make hundreds of preparations. We make yogurt, we make cheese, we make buttermilk, we make hundreds of varieties of sweets for Krishna. I want you to help my servant, Rupa Manjari. You will assist Rupa Manjari in boiling the milk, and you will be personally making the sweets for Krishna. Narottam Das woke up from his dream. He ran to Lokanath Goswami. And he ran to Lokanath Goswami. Lokanath Goswami was chanting his bhajan. When Narottam got to Lokanath Goswami said, yes, Narottam, Srimati Radharani came in your dream. She has given you this service to assist Rupa Manjari. You will be known as Champak Lata. And you will assist the Manjaris in making all of this beautiful sweets, delicious sweets for Krishna. So Narottam Das had his eternal identity given to him by his guru. One day, Narottam Das Thakur is meditating. Now, Narottam Das Thakur, it is described that with his bhajan, at a very young age, he was able to realize his own spiritual form. And many times, in his spiritual body, in his spiritual form, he would be boiling the milk. And sometimes the milk would spill over. So he would think that I am not doing my service for Krishna properly. So he would, with his bare hands, take the pot and remove it from the fire stove. And then his hands would be burnt. And then he would just bandage his hands. And when devotees would ask what happened, he would just make some excuses. But in his fully realized spiritual form, in his mind, he would be in Vrindavan serving Radha and Krishna. While in his external form, he will be continuing with his services to the Vaishnavas. He would be in the school of Jiva Goswami, learning the Shastras, reading the scriptures, and being fully absorbed in chanting Hare Krishna. He wanted to render some service to Lokanath Goswami, but whenever he would go to Lokanath Goswami would reply, you are the son of a king. You have love of God in your heart. Why do you come to serve this wretched, sinful person? I am not worthy of anybody's service. You please tell me, how can I serve you? Narottam Das Thakur felt very aggrieved in his heart that he cannot do service to spiritual master. He would observe Lokanath Goswami very carefully. Lokanath Goswami would never leave any remnants on his plate. To drink, he would go to Yamuna and drink the water. He would only wear a kaupin and his Brahmanical thread. His coffin, after he would take his bath, he would wring it out in Yamuna and then put it on again. Narottam could not find any service he can do to his Guru. So he made up a plan. Lokanath Goswami, early in the morning, would go to pass stool and urine in the bushes. Narrotam Das Thakur, he observed and found out where his spiritual master does these things. He would get up early in the morning, and in the dead of night, he would collect sand from Yamuna and mud from Yamuna. And he would hide in the bushes, and he would clean the area with sand and put nice sand, Yamuna sand, so his spiritual master can relieve himself. And then Vaishnavas use the clay to wash their hands. So he would spread Yamuna, he would make a mound of Yamuna clay right next to that area, so his spiritual master can find mitti, clay, to wash his hands. One day, Narottam, early in the morning, was sweeping the area, putting Yamuna sand in the area, cleaning up with his own bare hands. Who's there? Lokanath Goswami's voice reverberated. Who is this person? And Narottam thought that he has definitely committed an offense, and his spiritual master will be very displeased because he had repeatedly refused his request for any seva. So Narottam admitted his guilt. He said, "This is your servant, Narottam. Please don't be angry with me. Please give me your mercy." When Lokanath Goswami saw this, he started crying. And in his heart, he gave Narottam hundreds of blessings. But externally, he said, "No, Narottam, please do not do this. Please do not come here anymore." That night, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in the dream of Lokanath Goswami. And he told Lokanath Goswami, "Why are you doing this to Narottam? He simply wants your mercy. Why do you not initiate him? Why are you being so miserly?" So then Lokanath Goswami announced that, "Yes, I will initiate Narottam." So he initiated him. He kept the same name, Narottam. And this Thakur was a title given to Narottam Das Thakur by Jiva Goswami. He gave him the title Thakur Mahashaya. So Narottam Das Thakur Mahashaya. After that, Narottam Das Thakur was known as Thakur Mahashaya. His fame spread, his stories of personally serving Rupa Manjari and as Champaka Lata was Champak Manjari. And was he assisting Champaka Lata?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So he was assisting Champaka Manjari, Champaka Lata as Champaka Manjari. So Narottam Das Thakur is Champaka Manjari in the spiritual world. He's assisting Champaka Lata, who's assisting Radharani in making sweets for Krishna. So little confusion, sorry. So Narottam Das Thakur took initiation. And then finally the time for graduation came. And on the day of graduation, Jiva Goswami asked Narottam Das Thakur, Shyamananda Pandit and Srinivas Acharya for one service. I am ordering all three of you to leave Vrindavan. Take these books, take these teachings I have given to you, and go to Bengal and Orissa and spread these teachings all over the world, all over whatever you can do, spread it far and wide. It is described that all of the books of Goswamis were loaded on a cart. Jiva Goswami made all the arrangements to securely pack the books and to securely load the books on the cart. There were 10 guards who were to accompany them to Nadia, all the way to Bengal, so that these books can be copied, distributed to the devotees and brought back to Vrindavan. These are... Huh? So what I understand from this writings is they arranged nice trunks and they were all put on a cart and those trunks were locked. So like that, and then there were guards surrounding them. And so the trip began. It was a very emotional farewell for these three devotees Maybe they will never see their spiritual master again. Maybe they will never see Lokanath Goswami or Jiva Goswami again. And they have to make this trip from Vrindavan to Bengal. The trip went smoothly. Every night, the guards will take turns sleeping. Somebody would be awake, guarding all of these books. We have Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of the books of Sanatan Goswami, Rupa Goswami, all of the books written by other Goswamis. All of these books are on this cart, and there are about 10 guards. They came to the outskirts of Bengal in a town called Vishnupur, and they went to sleep. Next morning, Narrotam Das Thakur woke up to sounds of shrieking and crying. He woke up and he see that for some reason or another, everybody has fallen asleep that night, and the books, all of the books were stolen. All of the books are gone. This was the sacred mission given to them by their spiritual master. This was the sacred service given to them by the Goswamis. There were no other copies of the Goswamis' literature. All of the books are stolen. Long story short, Srinivas Acharya, being the senior most, he convinced Shyamananda Pandit and Narottam Das Thakur to continue their journey. Narottam Das Thakur was to go to Kheturi. Shyamananda was to go to Kheturi with Narottam Das. Srinivas Acharya ordered them, these books are priceless treasure. I will recover them. I will find them. Krishna must have a plan. Krishna must have something for us. So sometimes in service there are obstacles, there are complete reversals, but if a devotee can just simply have faith and continue, things get better. Long story short, those books were stolen by the king of Vishnupur because his astrologer told him that in your kingdom is the greatest treasure in the world, and it is passing through your kingdom. The king sent his expert dacoits to intoxicate. They intoxicated everybody and they got the books. But when they got the books to the palace, they opened the trunks, and these are sacred scriptures. The king understood. He was a pious guy. He thought, well, these are sacred scriptures. We made a mistake. Long story short, Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamananda continued to Kheturi, where Narottam was born, and Srinivas Acharya retrieved the books. Not only he retrieved the books, the king of Vishnupur and his wife, they were so amazed and impressed to see Srinivas Acharya and his erudition that they took initiation, and the entire town of Vishnupur took initiation from Srinivas Acharya. Srinivas preached widely, and not only he found the books, he found a ready audience in the books for the books to be read, to the books to be copied. The king of Vishnupur, King Birhambir, he helped Srinivas Acharya, started making copies of the books and started preaching. So Srinivas Acharya started his preaching in Vishnupur and the surrounding areas. Meanwhile, Narottam Das Thakur and Shyamananda Pandit, they got to Kheturi. When Narottam Das Thakur got to Kheturi, his parents, mother and father, came to receive. They found out. The boatman asked, who are you? He said, I am Narottam. I used to be the prince here. And the boatman rushed to the palace. Narottam's cousin, Santosh Datta, was ruling the kingdom of the ruling Kheturi. The boatman went and told his parents. It is described an emotional scene ensued. Everybody welcomed Narottam. They were all amazed by his asceticism, his simplicity, his beauty, his effulgence on his face. Narottam said, I have come here to Kheturi to spread the mission of my spiritual master. His parents invited him in the palace. He said, no, I will not come in the palace. I will live here outside. I will sleep outside. His parents were very happy that Narottam had come back after so many years. Narottam Das Thakur said, tonight we will have a festival. We'll have a festival where we have kirtan, we'll have Krishna Katha, and we'll have prasadam. Santosh was very happy. He told Narottam that I am simply managing the kingdom on your behalf. You can have the kingdom. Narottam said, no, I will not have kingdom. If you ever talk about me taking the kingdom or getting married, I will leave immediately. That day, a big festival ensued. Narrotam Das Thakur's kirtan, his katha, everybody was transfixed. Everybody's heart began to get transformed. Narottam initiated Santosh, the king. Narottam's parents took initiation from Narottam. Slowly and slowly, Narottam's fame grew far and wide. And Narottam preached vigorously in Kheturi and the neighboring villages and towns. Many people came forward to take initiation from Narottam. Shyamananda Pandit, he went to Orissa. He was deputed to Orissa to preach Krishna consciousness. Today, if Gaudiya Vaishnavism exists in Bengal, in Orissa, it is because of the effort, of course, Mahaprabhu and his associates, but the preaching effort of these three devotees, Srinivas Acharya, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shyamananda Pandit. They preached wide, they preached far, they made copies of the books, they distributed these books. These books are lying here. They personally distributed these books. These books contain the essence of the Shastras. Narottam's erudition, his kirtan, the scriptures and the writings of our acharyas described it. I would encourage you to read it. I am like a dwarf trying to touch the moon. Narottam's personal influence. Narottam began to attract people from Brahmanical caste and make his disciples, give them initiation. Narottam met grave opposition. Brahmanas, their business was being threatened, their livelihood was being threatened. He's basically from a lower class. And now he's initiating Brahmanas. He's the guru of Brahmanas. One time Narottam Das Thakur, and one personality I would like to mention, Srinivas Acharya had a disciple, Ramakrishna Kaviraj. Ramchandra Kaviraj. Ramchandra Kaviraj was very attracted to Narottam Das Thakur. He had joined Narottam Das Thakur in Kheturi. One time they were going on the bank of Padmavati river and they met two boys, Ramakrishna. What? Ramachandra. Okay. And?
Well, I think you mean Govinda, his brother, or who are you about to say?
Right, so Hari Charan and Ramakrishna. That's what Sitala said. But the two Brahmanical boys.
They were grazing
the cows. So Narottam Das Thakur and Ramachandra Kaviraj, they are seeing these two young effulgent Brahmanical boys, and they are taking goats and buffaloes to be sacrificed for worship of Kali. And Narottam Das Thakur and Ramachandra Kaviraj, they started talking among themselves that how in Kali Yuga animal sacrifices are forbidden. Animal sacrifice was done so that animal can be rejuvenated and he can get a new life. These two boys, when they heard Narottam Das Thakur and Ramachandra Kaviraj talking, they were attracted by their saintly demeanor, by their disposition, by their talk. So they came and they started listening to what they're talking. And they said, what are you doing? Where are you taking these animals? He says, we are taking these animals for worship of Kali. They will be sacrificed. And Narottam Das Thakur asked them a question. Have you ever seen these animals take a new life again in your eyes? And they said, no. He says, well, then your animal sacrifice is useless. It is actually a grossly sinful activity. And in Kali Yuga, Krishna is meant to be worshipped. And they preach them from Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. These two boys became so attracted. They said, what should we do? He said, you should come and live with us in our ashram. These two boys, Ramakrishna and Hari Charan, they came and they started living with Narottam Das Thakur and Ramachandra Kaviraj. Shortly thereafter, they became so convinced by Narottam Das Thakur's personality and by his erudition that they understood that what their father was doing was basically nonsense. They took initiation from Narottam Das Thakur. Their father was the leader of Brahmanas in that area. His name was Shivananda. So he launched an all-out battle. With the local Brahmanas, they launched an all-out battle. They came to Narrotam Das Thakur's ashram and they started talking. Says, you are from low caste, you are from low-born person. You think you can just go to Vrindavan and then come back and then started teaching to Brahmanas? And Narrotam Das Thakur explained to them from the Shastra, what is the difference between a Brahmana and a Vaishnava? He says, Brahmana ones who knows Brahman. Brahman janati iti Brahmana. But this Brahman is only a bodily effulgence of Vasudeva. After realizing Brahman, one has to realize Paramatma and Bhagavan. That Bhagavan is Vasudeva. And this Brahman is simply a bodily effulgence. The real purpose of being a Brahmana is to serve Vasudeva and to come to the Vasudeva platform of consciousness. Going beyond Brahman consciousness, one should come to Vasudeva. That's a true Brahmana. He also explained what is the verdict of the scriptures. And the verdict of scripture is that in Kali Yuga, everybody is born a Shudra. By purificatory ceremony, one becomes a Brahmana. But after that, one, by spiritual initiation and by serving a pure devotee, one becomes a Vaishnava. And Vaishnava is higher than a Brahmana. Narottam Das Thakur faced opposition, oppression, threats of murder. Narottam Das Thakur, long story short, with his erudition, he rallied everyone. Anybody who met Narottam Das Thakur and Ramachandra Kaviraj, they could see that they were saints. They were true, pure devotees of Krishna. They were pure Vaishnavas. They were beyond Brahminical platform. They had all of the qualities which these Brahmanas aspired to have, but didn't have. They had all of these qualities. They had renunciation. They had simplicity. They had love. His kirtans, his talks were mesmerizing. Things come to a head. Things come to a head. The Brahmanas were not to give up so easily. Narottam's fame spread. Many, many towns and villages. Narottam was received as the king. He was the spiritual master of the masses. They went to complain to the king. His name was King Narsingha. And King Narsingha said, okay, well, if you have so much objections, we organize a debate. And in that debate, if you can debate Narottam Das Thakur, then I will banish him from the kingdom. And I will banish his disciples from the kingdom. The entire army of Brahmanas and the courtesans of the king, they came.
Courtiers of the king.
Courtiers of the king. Would courtesans refer to the...
Something else.
Something else, okay.
Very different.
Very different, okay. Okay, so courtiers of the king, they came to challenge Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur refused the challenge. He said, I will not accept this challenge. I'm not here to make so much disturbance. If my presence is creating a disturbance in the community, I will leave. His two disciples, well, Ganganarayan Chakravarti, one of his famous Brahmanical disciple who had taken initiation from him, and Ramachandra Kaviraj, they said, Guruji, you don't have to go anywhere. We will defend you. This is another aspect of Vaishnavism, that when Vaishnavism or Vaishnavas or Krishna is blasphemed, then it is the sacred duty of the disciples to uphold the truth in debate and to speak the truth and to defeat the blasphemer. It is not, humility does not mean that we just keep our mouth shut and just you can say anything, We should defeat them in debate. Ganganarayan Chakravarti and Ramachandra Kaviraj, they went outside the town, and in the marketplace, Ramachandra Kaviraj dressed himself as a betel nut seller, and Ganganarayan Chakravarti disguised himself as a pot seller. Now when all this entourage of the king and Brahmanas came and they camped outside the town, they came to the market to purchase pots and things. They came to the pot seller, and the pot seller is Ganganarayan Chakravarti disguised. How much is the pot? And he replied in perfect Sanskrit. He says, how do you know Sanskrit? He says, he replied again in perfect Sanskrit. And whenever they would ask him a question, they would give a philosophical answer. A philosophical answer. So they said, well, how do you know all of this? He said, our spiritual master Narrotam Das Thakur has taught all of this. The Brahmanas were a little disturbed. They went back to the camp and they reported what happened. That in this town, even the pot seller and the betel nut seller are so erudite and so expert in Sanskrit that we cannot reply to them. So now the entire Brahmanas and the leader of the Brahmanas, Rupa Narayan, they all came. And Ganga Narayan Chakravarti and Ramachandra Kaviraj soundly defeated them in debate. And the king was witnessing all of this. The Brahmanas, some accepted their defeat and they said, this can be the work of a great personality. We will accept initiation from Narrotam Das Thakur. Some went back to their own towns and villages, but some were up in arms. They said, "Oh king, don't you see this? What's going on?" And the king said, "What is your problem? Don't you see what's going on? Why don't you accept your defeat when you have been defeated so soundly by the insignificant pot seller and betel nut seller?" So the king made this ruling that we will all go and fall at the feet of Narrotam Das Thakur and we will ask for forgiveness and for his blessings. We have blasphemed him. We have plotted against him. We have made plans to throw him out. So now let's beg for his forgiveness. All of them went and they begged for forgiveness. Narrotam Das Thakur received them so warmly. He lifted them up, hugged them. He said, no, you are the king. I am just a simple mendicant. The king took initiation from Narrotam Das Thakur. Brahmanas had a change of heart. Many were still blasphemous and many left. Narrotam Das Thakur's fame grew wide and far. And he became, in Bengal, he became a very strong and powerful personality. Narrotam Das Thakur then took a visit to Nadia. He wanted to see all of the places where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had his pastimes. When he got to Nadia, Shuklambar Brahmachari welcomed him, received him, showed the house of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu where he sat, where he danced. He took him to the house of Srivas Thakur. Srivas Thakur had left this world, but his two brothers, Shripati and Srinidhi, they received Narrotam Das Thakur. They had heard about Narrotam Das Thakur's preaching. They took him to Advaita Acharya Prabhu's house. His son Achyutananda was alive. They received, it is described in the scriptures how heart-rending those meetings were, how each felt love of God in their heart, meeting each other, and they received each other. Narrotam Das Thakur traveled throughout the Bengal, meeting all of the associates of Lord Chaitanya. He met Hriday Chaitanya, the spiritual master of Shyamananda Pandit, his Gaur Nitai deities. He went to Jagannath Puri. Meanwhile, traveling through all the places and meeting the devotees where Lord Chaitanya had his associates. He got to Jagannath Puri. He met the most intimate associates of Lord Chaitanya who were alive at this time. And then Narrotam Das Thakur came back to Kheturi. He also met Mother Vasudha. Nityananda Prabhu had two wives, Janava and Vasudha. Mother Janava, Mother Vasudha. He took the blessings. He met all of the devotees who were alive. And he came back to Kheturi. After coming back, Narrotam Das Thakur told Santosh Datta and Srinivasa Acharya, I want to organize the first Gaura Purnima festival. And there was a big reason why he wanted to organize. In his travels, Narrotam Das Thakur saw that just 10, 15, 20 years after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had left this world, there were many different conceptions and philosophical deviations within Gaudiya Vaishnavism. Followers of Advaita had promulgated a doctrine called Advaita Pranam Vad, which meant Advaita is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Among Advaita Acharya's sons, there was dissension and dichotomy. Nityananda Prabhu's followers had declared him to be the Supreme Personality of God. The mood of Vrindavan and the Goswamis was different. The mood in Orissa was different. The mood in Bengal was different. Narottam Das Thakur took it upon himself to teach the pure and exact, unadulterated message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He invited all of the Vaishnavas from Bengal, all of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He invited all of the Vaishnavas from Vrindavan, and he invited all of the Vaishnavas from Orissa. And because his brother was the king, he had a lot of wealth, they constructed a beautiful temple in Kheturi. Narottam Das Thakur constructed a beautiful temple, and he ordered 5 sets of Radha Krishna deities to be made. Lokanath Goswami had written him a letter that now you are preaching and your preaching is successful, you should establish a temple in Kheturi and install Radha Krishna deity. And you should also install Radha Krishna deities in the neighboring towns and villages. This was an instruction Lokanath Goswami had given him. Narottam Das Thakur took it upon himself to send invitations. Him and Srinivas Acharya collaborated, and they organized the first Gaura Purnima festival. There is a small story that Narottam Das Thakur was trying to get the deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu built, but the deity was not coming to the particular specification. So he went to the house of a local merchant, Vipradas, and he said, I need to go to your place where you store rice. And the person said, yes, you are welcome, but in that storage room there are snakes. I myself don't go there. So Narottam Das Thakur said, don't worry, just take me to that place. He went to that place, and all of the devotees are waiting outside, and Narottam Das Thakur is inside. And one by one, all the snakes slid out, and Narottam Das Thakur found a deity of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a beautiful golden brass deity which he brought with himself. And Vishnupriya also. So he brought this deity out, and it was a beautiful deity which was self-manifested apparently. And Narottam Das Thakur carved 5 deities of Radha Krishna. I don't know their names. Radha Kanta, Radha Raman, like that. And he built a beautiful temple with a beautiful kitchen. Santosh Datta made accommodation for all the visiting pilgrims. So this big festival happened, and all of the devotees, Mother Vasudha, Mother Janava, all of the living associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu from all of these places came. And it is described how wonderfully Narottam Das Thakur and Srinivas Acharya received them with sandalwood pulp and flower garlands, made wonderful and comfortable arrangement for their accommodations, took wonderful care of their prasadam, and organized a 3-day festival. In that festival, it is described how the deities were bathed, had abhishek, wonderful kirtan. Narottam Das Thakur is leading this amazing kirtan, and he's introducing this wonderful ragas and melodies. And one time kirtan got to such a crescendo that Lord Chaitanya, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Gadadhar Pandit, Srivas Pandit, they all appeared on the stage in front of everybody, dancing and chanting. Achyutananda rushed to grab hold of Advaita Acharya. Vasudha and Janava are seeing Nityananda Prabhu dancing in front of them. Lord Chaitanya is dancing. Shripati and Srinadhi are holding the feet of Srivas Thakur. That kirtan is unparalleled, uncompared. Narottam Das Thakur, they had the best musicians leading the kirtan. It lasted for about that scene where all of the personalities are together dancing in kirtan for maybe a few hours. And after that, they disappeared. And after that, devotees were plunged again in separation. Mother Janava arranged prasadam for everybody. She cooked wonderful meals. Next day, they organized a holy festival where devotees threw colors on each other. and they threw colors on the deities, and it was a wonderful 3-day festival. But the highlight was that Narrotam Das Thakur and Srinivasa Acharya gave philosophical discourses in which they established the tattva, the siddhanta of the pure teachings of Lord Chaitanya. And that is very important from time to time to establish, because you have a spiritual current, and you have one small deviation, then second small deviation, then third small deviation, and within a very short period of time everybody is doing everything on their own. When Prabhupada came, I sometimes reflect on the state of ISKCON or what is happening. Prabhupada, through his books, through his writings, he gave the canon. He also established deity worship. He said that you have a community of devotees who will rally around the service of the deity. Everybody will consider them as the servant of the deity, and we would serve deity more and more with wonderful festivals, prasadam, dresses, jewelry. We will serve the deity. That will be our pleasure. He gave the books. He established a morning program and an evening program. He established 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now, a lot of people ask, why 16? But if there is any sanity in ISKCON, if there is any sanity left, or ISKCON is growing, it is because of that 16 rounds. He established the 4 regulative principles. These are the principles. This is what you are meant to do. You are meant to do morning and evening program. Some devotees do in their home, some devotees do here, some devotees are not able to do. But whatever it is, he established a certain standard. He established the book distribution. This book distribution is directly in the footsteps of this is the Manobhishtam of Jiva Goswami, of all of the Goswamis, of Narrotam Das Thakur, Srinivasa Acharya, Shyamananda Pandit. When we give Bhagavad Gita to somebody, it is not an ordinary thing. When we give perfection of yoga or even a small book to somebody, these books are simply glorifying Krishna. It is basically directly following the footsteps and the instructions of the Acharyas and the Goswamis. This was the instruction. Prabhupada gave this instruction to preach, to spread this movement. Sometimes we are criticized for that. When you try to spread something and you try to preach, you have to deal with the material energy. You need money. Money means material energy. You have to deal with a lot of people. You have to really go out. You are always in an uncomfortable position, because no matter how much you try, it's never going to be enough. But Prabhupada said, this is how you will become purified. This is how you can engage your mind and senses in the service of Krishna. This is what I want from you. This is what I expect from you. Lot of branches of Lord Chaitanya's tree, they wither away. And they have withered away. Why? We don't need to preach. We're going to go to Vrindavan and do bhajan. Preaching is for neophytes. In this cold weather, going and giving a book to somebody, that is for neophyte. But chanting in Vrindavan is the real thing. Prabhupada made it very clear that this process of preaching Krishna consciousness is the real thing. This is the work of real advanced devotee. Anybody can go and sit in Vrindavan. It is not that difficult. And that yes, we should go time to time. We should definitely go time to time. Prabhupada wanted all of the devotees to visit Mayapur every year. The temple president said, but Prabhupada, that will be a lot of money. All of the devotees have now to go to Mayapur every year. And Prabhupada said, do you eat? Oh yes, but that is also a lot of money. Meaning, going to a holy place is as important as taking Krishna's prasadam. The point was made. These small books we can give to everybody who we meet. Barber, airport, Uber driver, neighbor, friend, anybody whom we meet, grocery store clerk. Everybody can distribute books. We can extend our invitation to whomever we meet. Extend an invitation. Or give books. That is the best way of preaching. So Narottam Das Thakur, he preached far and wide. He established the Siddhanta. He established what is Krishna consciousness, what did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's Advaita Prabhu, who's Nityananda Prabhu, from the teachings of Jiva Goswami. Narottam Das Thakur, his songs, his poetry became the stuff of the legend. Anybody who would hear him sing, their hearts would melt. And they would come forward for initiation from Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das Thakur grew old. Srinivasa Acharya left this world. Ramachandra Kaviraj asked Narottam Das Thakur, he wanted to accompany Srinivasa Acharya to Vrindavan for pilgrimage. Srinivasa Acharya and Ramachandra Kaviraj went to Vrindavan for pilgrimage. A message came to Narottam Das Thakur that Ramachandra Kaviraj left this world. He left this body. Narottam Das Thakur composed that song, Jai Anilo Premadhana. Ramachandra Sangha Mange, Narottama Das. Narottam Das Thakur grew old. His mood became internal. He was absorbed in bhajan. Tears would flow from his eyes like the currents of Ganga and Yamuna. His disciples, Ganga Narayan Chakravarti and others, they could not see their spiritual master's state. One day, Narottam Das Thakur told everybody, take me to banks of Ganga. And Narottam Das Thakur half submerged himself in the banks of Ganga. And he asked his disciples to massage him. Ganga Narayan Chakravarti is massaging him. Other disciples are massaging him. And what they noticed is that the Ganga started in ecstasy, stirring. And slowly, Narottam Das Thakur's body melted and became milk and submerged in milky Ganga water. And Narottam Das Thakur's ended his pastimes in this world. When did he did the first Gaurapunim festival? The date is not clear, but 1580 is the date which is discovered. After that, every year he organized the festival. Every year he would invite Vaishnavas, he would give philosophical discourses, give new ways of kirtan, distribute books in the festival. What is a festival meant for? In a festival, everybody, thousands and thousands of people will come. Sometimes hundreds of thousands of people will come. And the devotees would have the books copied and they would distribute books. So we are having this Gaurapunim festival now, shortly, big festivals. If anybody doesn't have a full set of Chaitanya Charitamrita, full set of Bhagavatam, full set of Prabhupada books, we can install those books in your home. This is one of the things devotees did. Sumptuous prasadam was cooked. Lot of kirtan, the whole day was absorbed in a festival in kirtan and philosophical discourses from Narottam Das Thakur. So he also established how to organize a festival. Distribution of books, prasadam, kirtan and philosophical discourses. Narottam Das Thakur's disciple, Ganga Narayan Chakravarti's disciple was Radharaman Chakravarti, whose disciple was Krishnakant Chakravarti, whose disciple was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. In our lineage, we hear Narottam Das Thakur, Ganga Narayan Chakravarti, Vishwanath Chakravarti. Nothing to do with Mithun Chakravarti. And Ganga Narayan Chakravarti, Vishwanath Chakravarti, and then Baladev Vidyabhushan, like that. So this is a little bit about the life and times of Narottam Das Thakur. Narottam Das did also some other miracles. He would exorcise ghosts from a dacoit body, and then not only he exorcised the ghost, he gave him this person. His name was Chanda Sen. Chanda Sen. He was a dacoit, and he got affected by a ghost. Narrotam Das Thakur exorcised him. He became his disciple. When he became his disciple, the local king became infuriated because he had taken a lot of loans and stolen a lot of money. He imprisoned him. So the king told him that, I don't remember the details of the story, but the king said that if you convert to Islam, he would let him go. And he said, no, my spiritual master Narrotam Das Thakur is everything. I will chant this mantra. The king threw him in the front of an elephant, and the elephant died, but nothing happened to this dacoit, this Chanda Sen. Anytime they tried to persecute Narrotam Das Thakur or his disciples, it all backfired on them, and Narrotam Das Thakur's fame simply grew. So Arti has begun, huh? We'll do Artik.
Yes. Just one comment. Somebody asked Gaur Das Babaji how to get love of God, and
So Gaur Das Babaji replied, get 4 annas, very small amount of money, go to the marketplace and get 2 books, Prarthana and Prem Bhakti Chandrika. These are the 2 books which has a collection of anthology of all of the songs and poems of Narottam Das Thakur. He said, get these 2 books from the market and you will get love of God.
Now they cost more than 4 annas.
Are they for sale?
No, these are mine.
These are. Thank you for adding that. Point. Hare. Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki.